kind of random.
What does joining Hip Hop Now's Patreon mean? It means supporting the kind of hip-hop content that keeps you updated on the latest hip-hop news and moves. It means supporting the production of content like That Time in Hip Hop and Hip Hop Now Reviews. It means you care about the conversation and preservation of hip-hop music and culture. Hip Hop Now Patreon supporters get access to bonus content, merchandise, and more. Support the movement. Become a supporter of Hip Hop Now podcast today at patreon.com/Hip Hop Now.
Coming up on this week's episode of Hip Hop Now podcast, my thoughts on the new Pharoahe Monch album, A Magnificent Day for an Exorcism. A Lil Kim biopic is on the way, and guess what actress she wants to play her? And Donald Trump pardons hip hop. In so many ways. Let's do it.
Let's get right to the business.
Read these headlines. This album must be gone. This album must be gone.
Classic album.
Hip Hop Podcast. What up, y'all? I am your host, Vegas, and this is Hip Hop Now Podcast. A podcast designed to catch you up on all things hip-hop, music, and culture that happened throughout the week. Shout out to the producers of this very podcast via patreon.com/hiphopnow. Shout out to y'all. Appreciate the support. We working. Don't worry about it. Big shout out to the returning listeners of this podcast, whether you listen every week or you dip in here and there because maybe you got a lot going on in your life. You can't listen to podcasts every day. Trust me, I understand. I do the same thing. But I appreciate you for tuning in to this episode. And shout out to you, the new listener who came through, found the podcast, whether you searched, whether you saw it on social media, whatever the case may be, I'm glad you're here. This is a podcast designed to give you hip-hop news and perspectives. Basically, my perspective. But you know how it goes. I try to keep it true to hip-hop, and it is what it is. First and foremost, real quick, I just want to say, for those that don't know, like I said last week, because I got to keep saying this, because I realize some people just don't know. If you use Facebook, right, and you're like, man, I don't use Clubhouse, I don't use Instagram, I don't use Twitter, TikTok, none of that, man. I'm on Facebook. It's me and my grandma. Well, you know what I mean. But nevertheless, if Facebook is your go-to for social media, I do have a page there that's literally dedicated to providing you with hip-hop news. So not only can you see the latest episode of this podcast or the latest videos I produce on YouTube via the B-Roll Network, I also post stories throughout the week that I come across and I'm like, yo, I want to share this with the hip-hop audience. So if Facebook is what you do and that's all you handle on social media, that's fine. You can go to facebook.com/hip-hop right now. Hit that like button, stay locked in, and then listen to the show every week. It's all for the love of hip-hop. And if you're a person who does everything else from TikTok to Clubhouse to Twitter to Instagram, on any of those platforms, you can follow me at Vegas World INC, where I do the exact same thing. Get what I'm saying? Big shout out to hiphopdx.com, XXL Magazine, The Source Magazine. Word? Really? The Source? Yes, The Source Magazine. Allhiphop.com and a couple of places where I'm getting some of these stories from. Let's get right into the business, though. So Eminem's debut album, In Real Time, sold 283,000 copies its first week. But that's not the story. The story is that Fat Joe and Big Pun actually waited in line to buy copies of that album at Tower Records. Now, Fat Joe was doing an interview with, I think, Bow Wow, and he asked Bow Wow about, Bow Wow's top 5, and somehow Eminem came into conversation, and I think it was because Bow Wow mentioned it's difficult to make a top 5 MCs list for him without thinking about Eminem and whether he should put him in there. Now, it's well documented that Fat Joe is a huge fan of Eminem for a number of reasons, right? He's a fan of him lyrically and all of that. I think he's somewhat a fan of him also because he had an opportunity to sign him before Eminem was signed to Dr. Dre's label Aftermath. So there's a little bit there, but we going back in the days where it was Fat Joe and Big Pun around. And he revealed that they actually went to Tower Records and waited online for Eminem's debut album, the Slim Shady LP. Now, hip-hop heads really, for the most part, some of them, don't like Eminem praise for some reason. But, and I've done a whole podcast on it called The Eminem Effect. You can look back in the archives and listen to that because I kind of summed up why some people feel the way they feel, whether they hate him or love him. But nevertheless, I get it, right? Now, there's a part of me that feels like, sure, I like when other hip-hop artists are just fans of the music, right? They don't care what anybody thinks. They buy music just like we buy it. I think it's dope that happens. One thing I would say is I don't know if I'm Pun and Fat Joe, who weren't nobodies at the time that Eminem's album came out, not at all. Especially Pun, who was huge, was the fact that they actually physically waited online. Now that's some serious fandom for them to do that. And to me, from what I get from what Fat Joe was saying, it didn't bother them as much because of the simple fact that, you know, they were fans and they were also trying to secure a feature for Pun with Eminem. Now, that was the first thing I thought about, right? Like, damn. Like, you listen to Capital Punishment, which is Big Pun's debut album. He's just on a lyrical attack compared to his second album. First album is like Big Pun raising the bar in hip hop as far as lyrics go. And hearing him on a track with Black Thought was already like a masterpiece when it comes to rhyming. Man, I would have loved to hear Big Pun and Eminem at that time. That Eminem at that time with Big Pun would have been crazy. It's really sad it never happened. I wish it did. But nevertheless, I just think the story itself is kind of crazy that, you know, you have these two, you know, rappers who are very popular at the time waiting in line to get the debut album from this new cat. Now, I will tell you this. I like the Slim Shady LP. Honestly, it's the album that made me an Eminem fan. But I can't say that I waited in line day one. I can't say that I was anticipating the album. I literally bought the Slim Shady LP as I'm at the record store. What's new? I'm just going to buy something I'm not necessarily anticipating and see what it's like. And I bought the Slim Shady LP on cassette. I think I still have the cassette and played it. And that's when I became a fan. So I'm with Fat Joe on his fandom. But yeah, dog, you and Pun online, man, send somebody to the store for that. Like, y'all don't do that. For those who don't know, we have a new president. No, this is not a politics podcast, but something interesting happened, right? As Donald Trump left office, he pardoned up to, I think, like 140 individuals, right? And for those who don't know, pardon, and they've been looking at that word all week, like, damn, what that mean? What did he do? All it means is if you was locked up or you was getting ready to go to jail, he basically wiped your slate clean. You can get out of jail that day and or the next day, however long that process takes. And if you were getting ready to be sentenced, you don't have to go to jail. So and that's not all pardons are, well, yeah, for the most part, that's what it's for. But it was interesting. Those that he pardoned that have some connection to hip hop. Now, I can't remember her name off the back, but it's not really that important to me. A woman involved with Rock Nation, which is Jay-Z's label, I believe. I don't know if she's CEO, she's high up, or president, or whatever the case. She was pardoned, right? That's one hip-hop connection. He also pardoned Lil Wayne, who was about to be sentenced. Now, Lil Wayne is not going to jail. He even released a record that I don't think anyone listened to. Also, Kodak Black, who's been begging to get out of prison since he got there. Now Kodak Black is home. He did not pardon Bobby Shmurda, for those who've been waiting for him to come home, or Suge Knight. But he did pardon Guy Fisher, who, for those who don't know, of Harlem fame, you know what I'm saying? Listen to a couple of Harlem rappers, and you'll know who Guy Fisher is, you know what I'm saying? Kind of in that same vein of the Alpos and all that, but a little bit earlier, right? I believe the commission, right? The whole, I'm not even going to get into it. Leave it alone, Vegas. But he also pardoned Harry O. And if you don't know who Harry O is, he is the co-founder of Death Row Records. Now, that was disputed by Suge Knight early on. I think it was a case, honestly, given some of the things I learned about it. You can look it up, probably YouTube it, and somebody done a story. But I believe Suge Knight was trying to shoo him away because he was locked up at the time and he was hot. So Suge Knight just was, Death Row was mine. But the word on the street is that Harry O was the person who put up the money to start Death Row. And Snoop Dogg is almost solely, but not, obviously there's some other players in there, but as far as hip hop goes, responsible for lobbying for Harry O to be freed. Now, the thing about Harry O in his specific case, sure, there's the rumors of the, wrong misdoings and all that good stuff. But the thing, though, is Harry O this is just one of the things, right? He was a entertainment manager, I believe, something along those lines, right? But responsible for getting Denzel Washington's career off the ground. Imagine that. So I could see why Snoop would say that, right? The man been in jail. He was in jail before Death Row got popping. Calculate that. He's been in jail for a very long time, 30 plus years. And a man who had that kind of influence back then when it came to artists, that's a smart man that can come out of prison and do a lot of good, not only with youth and, mentoring youth on what not to do or whatever to get jammed up, but also, I know it was 30 years ago, so it was different Hollywood, but he probably still has connections, right, in Hollywood, and you could probably get him right. And in a mind like that, you will want around you. So it was a awkward situation, like looking at all these different pardons that not only spoke to the hip hop community, but probably will have some people looking, which is impossible in my opinion, but will have some people looking at Donald Trump a little bit differently. My question to you is, what do they have to do as a result of being pardoned? That's my thing, because people can run again, right? Presidency is only 4 years. People can run again. If you don't know, there's a movie out or getting ready to come out, one or the other, called Broken Dream, that also features the acting debut of Pop Smoke. So if you're a Pop Smoke fan and you want more music, maybe you just wish he could have done more, well, he worked on a film and it's either out or coming out. So check for that. Look it up. You know what to do. Drake fans, if you were expecting his album, Certified Lover Boy, I don't know even what to think of that title, but whatever. Let's wait till we hear the music, right? If you were expecting that album in January, sorry, Drake is recovering from surgery. You know that boy knees is like Patrick Ewing at this point. So he's taking the time to recover before he dropped the album. So I'm assuming you're definitely going to either get that album in late February, if not March. That's my assumption because I can't see if it was a plan in some respects to drop that album in January and now it's being changed. I can't see why he would wait but so much longer to drop that joint. Dr. Dre's divorce woes continue, and he is described, and this is at hiphopdx.com, Dr. Dre described as a notorious woman beater, as $1 billion divorce looms. This is just ongoing, right? It continues to go on and on and on. And you would think with an aneurysm, and it's just a lot. But who's not inclined to believe what's being said, right? You can try to believe that Dr. Dre changed his ways. Maybe he did, and this is a play on our stereotype of feeling like he is a woman beater and probably beat his wife too. But I'll just say this: you see how conflicted I am. I don't know what to believe, but I'm inclined to believe her off the simple fact that Dr. Dre, to me, hasn't done a good job of apologizing for what he's done in the past to Dee Barnes, to Michelle A. He's apologized, but he looked very uncomfortable when he did so. And obviously, there could be some shame there. Maybe that's the reason why. It's difficult for me to say whether he truly feels sorry or he feels justified in his actions based off of why he did things. But it's a bad look either way. Hopefully, all of this gets resolved. Hopefully, he does some good out there that's not just music, right? Be a spokesperson for not to beat on your woman. That's not right. Jay-Z and Roc Nation launch a $10 million fund for minority-owned marijuana businesses. Now, if you don't know and you like, what? Well, then again, marijuana is legal over there, bruh. It's at the point now where it probably will become legal on a federal level. There are certain states like New Jersey, where I'm at, who have legalized it or put it up to a vote, and now they're just really getting the rules together. But it's a thing that's going to happen. It's going to happen because in the places where it's been legalized, the money has been ridiculous that's been made, right? It's just ridiculous, from the consumers to the people investing in it. It's just the way to go. The problem for a lot of places is decriminalizing people who are affected by, selling it in the past. And now, the government's going to turn around and make money off it when your whole life has been changed because you sold or got busted with some. And now you can't get a job in the house and all this good stuff. So if you criminalize it, then some of those people get some form of vindication for selling that product, because it's going to be just like alcohol, right? You're going to have to be a certain age to get it. You're going to have to, go to a dispensary, which is like AKA the liquor store. So all I say is be safe and don't be eating a whole bunch of edibles when you don't know how powerful they are. So Lil Kim is supposed to have a biopic coming out. And we know for years she's never felt the Tori Norton's, I think that's how you pronounce her name, depiction of her in the movie Notorious. If you don't know who the actress is, if you watch Power, Tasha, that's who she is. But Lil Kim she was very vocal about not only not wanting her in the role, but not liking her performance. So she obviously wouldn't get the gig to play Lil Kim, but Lil Kim has someone in mind that she would want to play her. Lil Kim said that she would like Teyana Taylor to play her in a biopic. And she said this, and I quote, "I love Teyana. There's nobody else in the industry." Now, I know Teyana has done some acting. She's also going to be in the Eddie Murphy sequel, Coming to America 2, or Coming to America. And I don't know really how to feel about this, right? I think I get why Lil Kim would want her. I think she can convey Lil Kim's attitude, and I think that's what Lil Kim likes about it, right? She doesn't really look like her. She's not really built like her. But when you're trying to, look when you're casting a movie and it's a biopic, right? You want someone who can embody the spirit of that person. Now, it's a bonus if they actually look like them. Then it's perfect because that creates the immersion for those fans who are coming there and may know everything about this artist or whoever, is being depicted. But you want to embody who the person is, right? I think in the NWA movie, Straight Outta Compton, right? The dude that played Eazy-E didn't necessarily look like Eazy-E at all. But there was something about the way he played Eazy-E that made you feel like you were looking at Eazy-E. He didn't even sound like Eazy-E, but you felt like he was Eazy-E, right? So I get that's why she would choose her. And in some respects, I kind of like it, but I also would have to see it because Straight Outta Compton is nominally, right? That is hands down the best hip hop biopic ever, above Notorious, All Eyes on Me, and whatever other version of a hip hop biopic you could pick out. What's the 50 Cent joint? Get Rich or Die Trying. 50 was playing himself, and it's still not better than Straight Outta Compton. And that's because you had an excellent director, you had potent actors, except for the dude who played MC Ren is an excellent actor. He just definitely didn't look the part, and he didn't have enough lines for us to feel like he was Ren. But nevertheless, the movie just got to be done right. So I think Teyana Taylor does embody the spirit of what we know of Lil Kim to feel like we're seeing her on the screen. But then there's a part of me that feels like, is she too famous to play her? Right? Because she's a recording artist and Lil Kim is a recording artist. And y'all don't feel like it would be like somewhat awkward if she played her? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I just feel like that might be the case. Right? You might feel like you're looking at Teyana Taylor. Now, it may not be that bad considering if you consider the fact that you're only thinking about Lil Kim, but you're not thinking about when you see Biggie on the screen, when you see Lil C's, like you'll be getting everything from Kim's perspective. So it's up to the producers to make you feel like it's the 90s and this is the Lil Kim you knew. But I wonder, this is the main thing I wonder about. I definitely want to know about Lil Kim's beginnings, right? I don't know anything about her life prior to joining Biggie with Junior Mafia. So that'd be interesting to learn about her. But I want to see her from, when she was a little girl, way past Biggie's death. I don't want it to end there. I don't want it to somewhat end somewhere around there. No, I want it to go through when Biggie was gone, the Hot 97 shooting outside, right? Her not snitching on the stand, going to jail. What was it like when she was in jail? Y'all forget Lil Kim was locked up. And she ain't stitched. Like, Lil Kim's story kind of crazy. right? The beef with Faith Evans. Her story would be crazy, man. I'm really hoping we get the right director and the right production for it, because it could be just as dope. And more importantly, let me say this, more importantly, we need to reestablish that Lil Kim is hands down the mother of damn near every female MC who raps and uses her sex appeal. She just is. You see the wigs, you see the colorful wigs, you see the dress, the way they dress, the sex, fur coat with your drawers on, whatever. Lil Kim did that. Foxy did a little bit of it too, but Lil Kim did that. Nicki Minaj fans need to be reminded. Cardi B fans need to be reminded. Megan Thee Stallion fans need to be reminded. Yeah, you can draw lines to other people like, oh, what about Trina? But Lil Kim set that tone. She set that tone of what you should do, right? Be dope on the mic and be sexy also, right? So this doesn't count Rhapsody. They're more from the MC like Queen Latifah tree, the Rod Diggers and stuff like that. But the female MCs that are huge right now, whether it's City Girls or Megan Thee Stallion, all of them, they all cut from the Lil Kim tree. So you gotta do something to reestablish, to show people who don't know or who aren't willing to go back and do the research and show them this was 96. Lil Kim was doing that. What your favorite artist is doing, Lil Kim was doing that in 96. She was doing it in 97. She was doing it in 98, 99, 2000, 2001. Maybe she was locked up by then. I can't really remember. I'm just saying, we need to reestablish the Queen Bee, Lil Kim. Facts. Now, lastly, I just want to give some quick impressions of a brand new album that dropped this week. If you from the future, you know what to do. Get your ass out of here. But it's a brand new album from Pharoahe Monch. Actually, let me get it right. From 13 and Pharoahe Monch, called A Magnificent Day for an Exorcism. Now, you like, 13? Who's that? What's that? Essentially, it's a band. I guess it would be, including Pharoahe Monch, 3 or 4 members, I believe. I think 2 drummers and one dude on a guitar. And then obviously Pharoahe Monch, who is the vocalist. He is the vocal leader of this band. He's not singing, not all the time, but he's rapping a lot. And I know you say to yourself, a magnificent day for an exorcism. Well, what does he mean? Well, the concept of the album from the mouth of Pharoahe Monch himself is this, and I quote, "If we're looking to atone or to evolve spiritually, I think we do need to cleanse personally, physically, spiritually, socially, and politically. The joints are about exercising a lot of the wrongdoings and bad energy that has been placed out there in this very moment, as well as historically. So, a magnificent day for exorcism is really a cleansing of himself and the musicians who are involved with this project. And that's the concept. So when you press play and you don't know that, it just sounds like Pharoahe Monch has just went horrorcore, right? He's just talking about exorcisms and got songs called 666 and Scarecrow and all this stuff. And it just sounds like, oh, he's just going for this extra lyrical, extra weirdness, but it's all a metaphor. If you don't know Pharoahe Monch, you should know that he is the father of Eminem and, by the way, Royce the 5'9", also style of rapping, right? Really sporadic, but never off beat, never out of pocket. Really wordy, but never off beat, never out of pocket. My first impressions of this album is I'm really digging it. And I listened to it twice so far. And I might, obviously I like it, so I'm going to listen to it some more. But I might do a full-on review of it. But first impressions, I'm really digging it. At first, I was cool with it. I liked it, but I didn't know what I liked. I liked the music, right? Then on the second listen, especially after I, did some research on what this album was about, I started to like it more because now I understood what I was hearing. Now I can hear the lyrics differently. Now I'm paying attention to the lyrics a little bit more. 13 tracks on here, 50 minutes, released on the Fat Beats record label. I think it's a dope album, but I also believe it's an acquired taste. Pharoahe Monch is he is the artist's artist when you talk about rap music in general, right? He's the lyricist, right? He is all about wordplay and how he plays with those words. And I think it really shines on here. It shows how much of a pro he is. As he's always been since Organized Confusion, which he also references on there. Musically, don't expect boom bap because this album is a combination or a gumbo, so to speak, of different sounds, right? There's some straight up hip hop sounding beats, but there's a tinge of rock in there. There's some funk in there. There's a number of different sounds all blended together. And I think that's what works for me. Why? Because I'm the type of music fan that has a variety of music in my catalog or in my stash or whatever you call it, right? In my collection. Let me say that. I tell people that all the time, right? If you go through my collection, sure, there's a lot of hip hop in my collection, but you're going to roll past a number of albums that you wouldn't expect to be there. And that's just because of me, right? I'm the dude whose guilty pleasure is listening to Kid Cudi, right? Because I just love his music. I love the music. It's not about whether he can sing or rap the best. I think he's decent, but I love the music he creates. And it's different. So if you're expecting, anything boom bap, this ain't for you. Sure, you can find hip hop all throughout this album. It's all throughout the album. But it's not going to be a press play and hear what I'm used to hearing. If you've been overdosing on Griselda Records and you like, oh man, Pharoahe Monch is here, sure. Spitting wise, MC's MC. You're getting that. But musically, it's different and it's varied. And I don't think everybody's going to like it, to be honest. So again, I might do a full-on a full-on review of this album, depending upon if people are talking about it a week from now. So stay tuned. That's going to do it for me for this week. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Clubhouse at Vegas World INC. If Facebook is where you live, then visit facebook.com/hiphop right now and hit that like button. Become a producer of this podcast and have a say in how this podcast is produced, and also receive exclusive and timed exclusive bonus episodes. All you got to do is visit patreon.com/hiphop now, or look at the link in this description and click on it. Until next time, y'all, I am not a critic. I'm a fan. Peace.
Drop it on the random.